When I collapsed at work, lying cold on the hospital bed, the doctors called my parents. They never showed up. Instead, my sister tagged herself at a luxury spa on Facebook while I was hooked up to machines fighting for my life. If this broke your heart in the first few seconds, hit the share button, subscribe for more, and stay with me, because what comes next will leave you speechless. The smell of antiseptic filled the air, the beeping machines beside me keeping a rhythm louder than my own thoughts. I expected to see my mother rush in, or at least my father's worried face. But the door stayed closed. Hours passed, and the nurse whispered to me, "Sweetheart, nobody's coming?" Her words cut deeper than the IV needle in my arm. I checked my phone with trembling hands, praying for a missed call, a text, anything. But instead, I saw my sister's smiling face posted online. Self-care day at the spa. My heart sank. She knew I was in the hospital. She ignored it. That moment burned into me like fire. I realized I wasn't just sick, I was abandoned. My parents didn't care, my sister didn't care, and all my years of sacrifice for them meant nothing. But what they didn't know was that this betrayal would fuel something far bigger than they could ever imagine. Because lying in that hospital bed, I made myself a promise. The next time my family saw me, I wouldn't be the weak Kristi they left behind. I'd be the one holding the power they could only dream of. And the way they'd find out? Let's just say it would shatter their perfect little world. The day I got discharged, I didn't go home to my parents. I walked out of that hospital with nothing but a prescription bag and a broken heart. My father's words still echoed in my head from years ago. Kristi will never be anything. She's too soft for this world. My mother never defended me, and my sister Rachel enjoyed every second of my humiliation. They thought I was the family burden, the one who always needed help. But little did they know that weakness they mocked would soon turn into the strength that destroyed their pride. I rented a small basement apartment with peeling walls and no windows. Nights were the hardest. I'd stare at the ceiling wondering if I even mattered to anyone. But every morning I forced myself up, clutching that pain like fuel. I worked double shifts at a diner, scrubbing dishes until my hands bled, and at night I sat at my secondhand laptop learning skills no one thought I could handle. Coding, digital marketing, financial planning. They thought I was invisible, but I was building something they couldn't even imagine. 2 years passed. Not a single call from my parents, not a single check-in from Rachel. But the silence became my armor. By then, I wasn't the Kristi they left at the hospital. I had built an online business, one client at a time, until my tiny apartment turned into the headquarters of a company that would one day outshine them all. My income skyrocketed silently, but I never flaunted it. I wanted them to stay blind, to keep thinking I was worthless, because their shock would taste sweeter if they saw it all at once. The turning point came when Rachel threw her engagement party. She invited everyone except me. Or at least she thought she did. A mutual friend accidentally mentioned it to me and something inside me snapped. I wasn't angry anymore. I was ready. I decided to show up, uninvited, wearing the truth they had ignored all these years. The night of the party, I stepped into the ballroom dressed in a black gown I bought with the swipe of a platinum card. Heads turned instantly. Rachel froze mid-laugh when she saw me, her face draining of color. My parents' eyes widened like they had seen a ghost. They weren't expecting Kristi the failure. But what they were about to hear would crush their arrogance forever. And just when the room went silent, the DJ's microphone was handed to me. I held the microphone in my hand, and for a moment I could feel the weight of every insult, every dismissal, every moment of being treated like I was nothing. My sister Rachel tried to laugh it off. "Oh wow, Kristi actually showed up. Did you borrow that dress?" Her friends chuckled, but the tremble in her voice betrayed her. I smiled calmly, the kind of smile that hides fire. "No, Rachel. I own this dress, just like I own this building." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Her laughter froze. My parents exchanged glances, trying to process what I just said. I looked around at the glittering chandeliers above us. "Yes, you heard me. I bought this entire venue 6 months ago. The same one you're using for your little party tonight. Technically, I paused, savoring the tension. You should have asked me for permission to be here. The silence was electric. People whispered. Rachel's fiancé looked at her, confused and uncomfortable. My father's face turned red. My mother pressed her lips tight, and I knew they were all thinking the same thing. How did she do it? I continued, my voice steady. While you were busy ignoring me, mocking me, and leaving me alone in a hospital bed, I was working. I was building. You thought I'd collapse and stay down, but I turned that pain into power. And tonight, I'm not the one who's embarrassed. Rachel's hand shook as she tried to grab the mic back. You're lying. This is some joke, right? Kristi doesn't have money. Kristi doesn't have anything. I pulled out my phone, tapped a button, and the giant screens in the hall lit up. My company's logo appeared, followed by numbers, millions in revenue, magazine covers, and partnerships with names they only dreamed of being associated with. Gasps turned into claps from people in the crowd who had no idea they were standing in the presence of someone far greater than the girl they once pitied. Rachel's fiancé stepped back from her. Wait, you're the CEO of this company? The one everyone's been talking about? His voice cracked with disbelief. I nodded slowly. Yes, and the funniest part? I never planned on saying a word. But your cruelty gave me the stage. The room was stunned. My parents tried to walk toward me, faces softening like they suddenly cared. My father forced a weak smile. Kristi, sweetheart, we're proud of you. But I stepped back, my voice sharp. Don't you dare. You weren't there when I needed you. And now, I don't need you. The air went heavy, and before anyone could react, I dropped one last bombshell that made Rachel scream out loud. I looked straight at Rachel, my voice cutting through the silence like a blade. Since you didn't bother inviting me to your own engagement party, let me return the favor. By telling everyone here the truth about your fiancé, her face drained of color. Kristi, shut up, she hissed, but it was too late. Every pair of eyes was locked on me. I raised the microphone higher. While you were busy mocking me for being a failure, Rachel, your perfect fiancé was messaging me. He reached out when he found out who I was, the real me. The CEO you've all been gossiping about without knowing my name. He said he admired my success, my drive. And he wanted a future with me, not you. The crowd gasped, whispers flooding the room. Rachel's fiancé looked like he'd been caught in a fire. Rachel, I can explain, he stammered, but his guilty eyes told everyone the truth before words ever could. Rachel lunged at me, screaming, You're lying! You're just jealous of me. But security, my security, stepped in and pulled her back. That's when people realized this wasn't just a dramatic family spat. This was power, and I was the one holding it. I steadied myself, keeping my voice firm but calm. Jealous? Rachel, I spent years praying for your approval, for Mom and Dad's attention. But what I got was betrayal. And now? Now I don't need approval. I don't need love from people who only show up when they see dollar signs. I built a life without you. My father finally broke his silence, raising his voice. Enough. We're still your parents, Kristi. Show some respect. I turned to him, every scar in my heart fueling my words. Respect is earned, not demanded. And you lost mine the day I was lying in a hospital bed while you both pretended I didn't exist. The entire room went silent again, the kind of silence that drowns people in shame. Guests shifted uncomfortably, some even glaring at my parents. Then, as if fate wanted to seal the moment, the event manager walked up to me and said loudly, Kristi, the lawyers are here with the final papers for the purchase of Rachel's fiancé's company. Shall I bring them inside? The crowd erupted. My sister screamed, my parents froze, and Rachel's fiancé looked like his world had just collapsed. I turned back to the stunned audience with a smile. Now shall we continue the celebration? But this time, on my terms. The night wasn't over yet, because the biggest revelation was still waiting. The room was spinning with shock, but I stood firm at the center of it all, the weight of years of pain finally turning into power in my hands. Rachel was sobbing in the corner, her mascara streaking down her face, while her fiancé looked like he was ready to disappear. My parents stood frozen, caught between anger, shame, and desperation. For once, I wasn't the broken one. They were. The lawyers entered holding a sleek black folder. One of them leaned into the mic and said clearly, "As of today, the controlling stake of Anderson Enterprises, the company owned by Mr. Carter, Rachel's fiancé, has officially been transferred to Ms. Kristi Bennett." The crowd erupted again. Some clapping, some whispering, all in disbelief. I looked directly at Rachel's fiancé, his face pale. "That's right," I said slowly, savoring every word. "While you were busy choosing my sister, I was busy choosing your company. And now you belong to me. Every deal you make, every paycheck you earn, every decision you thought was yours, it all comes through me now." Rachel screamed, "You're ruining my life." Her voice cracked, trembling with pure rage. But I didn't flinch. "No, Rachel. You ruined mine years ago. You left me to rot in silence, mocked me when I struggled, and abandoned me when I needed you most. Tonight is not revenge. Tonight is justice." My mother stepped forward, her voice suddenly soft. "Kristi, please. We're family. Let's not do this here." The crowd watched every second. I could see the fake sympathy in her eyes that had turned away from me countless times. I let out a bitter laugh. Family? Where was that family when I collapsed at work? Where was that family when I lay in a hospital bed with no one beside me? You weren't family then. Don't try to play family now that I'm standing on higher ground. The whispers in the crowd grew louder, people nodding, some even glaring at my parents for their cruelty. For the first time, it wasn't me who was embarrassed. It was them. I lifted the mic one last time. All my life, I was the invisible one, the unwanted one. But let this night be a reminder. You can bury someone, mock them, abandon them, but if they rise back up, they rise stronger than you could ever imagine. Tonight, I'm not the broken Kristi you left behind. I'm the Kristi who owns everything you thought I'd never touch. The applause came suddenly, people cheering, some standing up. Rachel collapsed into a chair, her fiancé staring at the floor in shame. My parents tried to blend into the background, but the crowd's eyes followed them, judging. Their empire of arrogance crumbled in one night. I handed the microphone back to the DJ, walked past my sister and her fiancé without another glance, and headed for the exit. As I reached the door, I turned once more and said clearly, "Enjoy the party. After all, it's being hosted on my dime." The doors closed behind me, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't walking away in tears. I was walking away in triumph, and that night, the girl who once collapsed alone became the woman no one could ever ignore again.